you know everything about healing, but you still can't bring yourself to doing it. Here's why. So I got a comment on my last video that I posted, and I thought I need to do like an in-depth full video about it because I feel like it's such an important topic. And the comment was something like, I know what I should be doing, but I can't seem to bring my body to actually do it. It's like my body's like resisting me. And honestly, I really get it because I've been there, done that. You can know everything you're supposed to be doing and still not being able to move. And in this video, I want to talk about what to actually do about it. Let me be honest with you. When I started therapy over a year ago, I only did like around 4 or 5 sessions, which were like weekly sessions. And then I stopped. And then I realized that all the work that I had done after was kind of like the majority of my healing, if that makes sense. Like in therapy, I feel like I got the information where I needed to start and like what to start with. And then everything that followed that was kind of like the majority of the process of my healing journey. By the way, I still don't have it all figured out. It's a very, very long journey and it will take a lot of time. I feel like these 4 or 5 sessions were just like catalyst for me. They cracked something open that I didn't know needed looking into. And I'm not saying that therapy isn't important because I do actually plan on going back soon. But the point that I want to make is that therapy should not be like a gatekeeper for healing. Like you don't have to only start healing when you have done therapy. Like I genuinely think that therapy is important. But the stigma that you cannot begin on your healing journey without going to therapy first, I think that that just keeps you feeling stuck. I feel like a big part of healing is actually dependent on what you choose to do with your healing journey, because you can have all the information in the world, but if you don't allow yourself and give yourself the permission to actually start, rather than just keep feeding yourself information and not doing the work needed. So this video is for that person that knows it all, knows everything, knows what to do, knows how to start, but somehow not able to give themselves that permission or allow themselves or their bodies to actually start healing. So let's actually talk about why this happens. So when we talk about trauma, I'm talking about trauma broadly here. Like I'm not talking about something specific or something dramatic. I'm talking about anything that basically overwhelms your nervous system or its capacity to cope. We're talking about like something that doesn't just live in your head or your thoughts. We're talking about something that lives in your body, you know? The book that I've been reading recently, The Body Keeps the Score, there's like a whole section that talks about this in depth. So I'm actually going through my notes because I don't want to forget anything. Here's the thing about your brain that will change how you see yourself. So you have multiple layers in your brain. So you have like the outermost layer, which is called the prefrontal cortex. That's like the conscious brain. That's where all the thinking exists. That's where all the knowledge lives. That's where you understand that you should journal, you should go to therapy, you should meditate, and that you need to set this boundary. So this is the part of the brain that makes all the big decisions. And then underneath that is something that's called the limbic system. So you have the limbic system, which is the emotional brain. And then underneath the limbic system, you have something that's called the survival brain. Its entire purpose in life, it's just to keep you alive. Nothing more, nothing less. Not to make you happy, not to give you logical decisions, but just to keep you alive. So when you've experienced trauma, your survival brain has learned a set of rules, and this has probably happened a really long time ago, like when you were an infant or like a child. Rules like emotions are dangerous, stillness is unsafe, change means threat, being seen is like being exposed. So now let's look at the layers again. So it's like survival brain, and then on top it's the limbic system, and then it's your conscious brain. So now everything you know up there in your conscious mind, it doesn't even affect what's so deeply embedded into the survival brain, which is your subconscious mind. No amount of knowing something that's like logical or something that you've thought through with your conscious brain, no amount of knowing can ever override or can ever change what's like so deeply embedded down in the survival brain. Because the thinking brain and the survival brain, or let's say the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, don't communicate like that. There's like a hierarchy. It's built in layers. The survival brain kind of holds all the power or all of the decisions on whether something is a threat or not, and then it affects your conscious mind. So no matter how thought you put into something, if your subconscious mind decides that this is a threat, there's absolutely nothing that your conscious brain can do about it. So it gives it all the orders, and unless you teach your subconscious mind or your survival brain otherwise, unless you change those set of rules where you heal from the trauma, only then will your subconscious mind start giving the orders that you want, not what you are, to your conscious mind. Also, one other book that I've read on this that I recommend you to read also is called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. It also explains this really, really nicely and in depth. So this is why you can know that you need to do something, but your body just will not allow it. You know, your body will just refuse. It doesn't mean that your brain hates you, but it's actually being loyal to you, to keep you alive. Your nervous system learned to protect itself in an environment that once felt unsafe, you know, whether it be emotionally or physically, and it got very good at its job. But because your subconscious mind or your survival brain cannot tell the difference between what is real and what isn't, what is in the past and what is in the present, it has no sense of time. It didn't necessarily get the memo that things have changed, even when you're no longer in that threat, even when you're no longer in the past, and it's still running on the old program. So when you, for example, do meditation or you try to sit in stillness and your body is just trying to resist so much, that's not like weakness, but it's actually resisting because it still feels that this is dangerous, because it's trying to, like, you know, tell you like, hey, what the hell are you doing? Like, we don't do stillness. Stillness is when things went wrong, remember? And another example, when you try to journal or when you try to speak or talk about your emotions in a way that like brings up the deep stuff, your body will also resist it. That's actually your body avoiding or protecting you from what will come up, because it doesn't want to deal with that. And when you want to reach out for help, your body's like, no. Remember when we once asked for help, we didn't get the reaction that we wanted. That's not pride, by the way. That's a nervous system just learning that it didn't end well when you did ask for help. So your body is not your enemy. It's literally just trying to keep you alive. It's very loyal. A very, very exhausted protector that just needs to be taught that this was the past. Now it's the present. I need to show you otherwise. You know, you need to teach it otherwise. You need to teach it differently. So if knowledge isn't the answer, then what is? You need to teach your body safety, and this safety will never come from thinking. It will come from feeling safe, feeling the safety and not thinking the safety. Your nervous system does not respond to thoughts. It responds to signals or like signs that like, I feel different, or like I feel this way, I feel safer. Like there's no such thing as, you know, you reframing your perspective or your thoughts and your nervous system will relax. It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. So what signs does your nervous system respond to? It responds to your breathing patterns. It responds to the tension that's in your body. It responds to whether you're able to move or it feels frozen and it feels numb, whether you're able to connect to a person or you feel completely alone, whether your environment feels familiar and predictable and safe, not in an environment where you constantly have to scan the room or the place for danger. It needs consistent signals. And this is the point that I want to make in this video. You can allow your nervous system to start feeling safe again and giving it the right signals that it needs. You don't need more information. You just need to sit with your body and you just need to apply this information that you have now. I think a lot of the healing content, including stuff that I've done, can accidentally give you the impression that if you just do enough inner work, you know, if you learn enough, have enough insight, become aware enough, you can get yourself all the way there. And I believe that for a while, but it's not actually true, because yes, awareness matters, all the somatic work matters, understanding your patterns matter enormously, but there's a layer underneath all of that where it's the really, really early stuff, the stuff that got written into your nervous system before you had language, before you had any way to make sense of whatever it was that was happening to you. And that layer doesn't really respond to insight. It doesn't care how much you understand it. It only responds to felt safety. And felt safety at that depth, it usually requires another person. And I'm currently reading this book called The Body Keeps the Score by Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. And this is basically what he talks about, is that trauma is fundamentally a wound in connection, not just one single dramatic event that happened. It's basically a rupture in feeling safe with another human being. And what that means is that healing at its deepest level has to happen in connection too. So your body doesn't always need more insight, it needs to experience, like physically experience being with someone that it trusts over and over again before it starts to believe that the world can be safe, that people are safe. And this deep level of healing cannot come with journaling or breathing or breath work, because eventually you do hit a ceiling with that type of stuff. So you have to feel it in the presence of somebody else. So now I want to talk about some things that have helped me personally kind of regulate my nervous system after it was so dysregulated for the longest time ever. And of course, everything just comes in waves. Like, you never fully heal, because healing is a spiral. It's not a straight line. It's not something that's linear. So to start off with my most favorite thing ever, yoga. So I very randomly took up a yoga class maybe 2.5 years ago, and then I was like, wow, this is amazing. I did it like at the time just for fun, but then I realized that it's literally one of the biggest ways that you can start releasing all that trauma from your body and like teaching your body safety. Because one really big thing in yoga, it's like mind and body connection, and like focusing on like breath work and stuff. Like, I just feel like my mind could be like in a completely different place before yoga, and then once I start a session, I'm able to bring my mind back into my body, and it doesn't have to be like in 1,000 different places thinking about all of the things that I have to do during the day and all of my worries and all of my stresses. It just like grounds you, and it like puts you back in place, makes you focus on the present. Like, it makes you focus on the now. So yeah, after I took up that class just for fun, I started like being like really consistent with it. I just feel like it has just helped me so much. Helped me practice being in the present more and not necessarily just in my head all the time. Like, at first I just thought that it's just simply stretching and like movement, but it's actually a lot more than that. Every time you stay in a pose that's like hard, teach your body to breathe through it, you're building up your tolerance. When you can experience something hard but not necessarily feel overwhelmed by it or like shut down. And I remember one day I woke up so overwhelmed. During my yoga class, I just couldn't help but think about all of the things that were like stressing me, you know, in the background. And one thing I remember that my instructor said that like just stuck with me ever since, just felt like it hit me directly. She was like, forget everything that you're like thinking about right now, forget everything that you're feeling, be grateful for the sole fact that you're breathing right now. And I feel like ever since then, I've just looked at life differently. Your head can be like in 1,000 different places. Once you start with that yoga session, it just brings you back to like the present, to just be in the now rather than in the future or whatever you're worrying about. So yoga was like the first thing that I kind of tried. And then the second thing was inner child healing practices. So I was watching an interview one day, I think it was Lewis Howes or something, and he mentioned that if you put a picture of your younger self on your phone background and then speak to your younger self in a way that it's like talking to them in the comforting way that maybe you wish to have heard when you were little. And I feel like this has worked for me majorly. So I don't know if it's showing or not. There we go. And I feel like ever since I just started putting pictures of like my younger self on my lock screen on my phone, it just helped me majorly with the way that I talk to myself. Because I feel like I used to be someone that like really spoke to themselves in like such a negative light. And like, for example, if I didn't get something right, or like if I done a mistake, I'd be like, oh my god, that's so stupid, that's so dumb. But then I realized that the way that you're talking to yourself like that, imagine you're talking to your younger self like that. And then ever since then, the way that I've just been talking to myself has just like shifted completely, because it's like, that's so silly for you to be harsh on somebody that didn't know better. So inner child healing practices is essentially talking to yourself with the same compassion that you wish to be spoken to with when you were little. And you know, I feel like it really pushed me to go deeper on where, for example, my fears originated from. Because you know how like when you're born with only 2 fears, which is the fear of falling and the fear of noise. So all the other fears you have developed by people around you telling you to fear that thing. So ever since I've done like inner child healing practices, I realized that my fear of being, by the way, I had like a huge fear of being seen a couple of years ago, and I feel like a huge part of that has been healed through this, because then now I kind of see and almost relate to my younger self on why something like that she would fear. It helped me like locate where this fear originated from, like which part of me had that fear. It basically asks you or forces you to go back to that child and say, you know what, I see you, like I can see why you did that, and it can start being different. You know, it doesn't have to stay that way. Another thing that also really helped me was EFT tapping. So this is about tapping on some acupressure points on your face and on your body. whilst you're speaking to an emotion or a memory or a belief that you have about yourself. This like works on like reducing like the stress hormone cortisol. It decreases the activity in the part of your brain, like the brain's alarm system called the amygdala. It's both like a mind and body connection, which is exactly what healing trauma requires. And this has worked with me like almost instantly. Let me tell you how in a minute. How I first got into it was actually a TikTok video that popped up on my feed. It was basically like this girl that was like experiencing like EFT tapping, and then I remember like just following her video, not thinking anything of it. You talk about the belief that's holding you back. So let's say you have this limiting belief that it's like, for example, I don't feel worthy and I don't feel deserving of like huge success. You work on your success and you work really hard, and then at one point you just come to self-sabotage, and this is something that I was dealing with. So then I remember doing that EFT tapping practice, and then I remember a couple of hours later my YouTube like comment section just flooded. People were like, oh my god, this is so helpful, thank you so much for making these videos. I remember just feeling all the love, and I was like, this is scary, like it actually works. And then the last thing that I want to talk about is affirmations. It's only been a couple months that I've been practicing affirmations like consistently. So I actually came across this app very randomly called Gratitude. So it has a section for like journaling your thoughts, and then it has another section for affirmations, and then you can basically like choose what affirmations you want to keep repeating to yourself every day, and then you can play it as like a daily ritual, like through your headphones or whatnot. Listen to that every single day or practice saying them out loud. This is the app, and then you can kind of choose which topic you want. There's like multiple. For instance, if it's about growing career, and then you have like all these affirmations that you can just like play, and then you can just like listen to them, whether it be like every morning right when you wake up or right before you sleep at night. I love this app because it has like really helped me be consistent with these affirmations, because sometimes I just forget. And honestly, I used to be that person. I used to think that affirmations were useless because it's like, I don't believe in that anyways. This is the whole point, because again, this is something very unfamiliar to your body. At first your body will resist, but then the more that you actually go through with it and the more that you practice, like if you give yourself, you know, 30 days of doing affirmations every single day, in the first couple of days obviously you'll not be very convinced. By the end of the month you might actually start feeling convinced. You just need to train it. You can just work on it every day to decrease that gap between the new belief that feels so far and then your current belief or your old belief. So to conclude this video, it doesn't always have to start with therapy, because it can always start with anything or any small action that you take in your day. Every time you choose to notice a feeling and you don't run away from it. Every breath that you take consciously. It's just all about teaching your body what your mind already knows and understands. And that will take a lot of patience and a lot of time and a lot of repetition. But it's gonna be so worth it in the end.